Hi, I'm Garrett Partain, lead educator at BeautifulHairColor.net, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the perks and the benefits of using advanced coloration as a color line. We have over 50 patents in the world over our technology just to make sure that we have the purest pigments, the lowest ammonia, and the most high definition color out there. As we know as stylists, everybody has another benefit or another perk why theirs is better. Well, I'm going to tell you why ours is better. The difference between advanced coloration is that we use micropigments instead of macropigments. What this means is that the dye molecule itself is a lot smaller than other color lines. So macropigments, think of those as like ultra large beach balls, trying to put those into a hair shaft. Now think of micropigments as flattened marbles trying to slip into the hair shaft. Advanced coloration uses a pH of 8.5. When you raise the pH of the hair, it actually swells the cuticle to allow the color to slip in. So using our micropigments, we don't have to use high ammonia. That ensures that we do not have to raise the cuticle very much to allow our pigments to get inside the hair shaft. The reason this is important is because hair lies anywhere between 5.5 and 6.5. When you use a higher pH with other color lines, you're really causing more damage to the integrity of the hair. Using lower ammonia and micropigments, it really helps us ensure the integrity of the hair. Formulating advanced coloration is a little bit different than other lines. We pretty much use target specific colors. So basically, when you use the color, you pick the target level, you choose the correct developer depending on how dark or light their natural level is, and then you just apply accordingly. Meaning that if you choose this 5.4 or this 5C and you use the correct developer with this tone, you should get that color. When formulating advanced coloration, you actually want to use the swatch book. Most people tell you to not show your client the swatch book because the hair is usually put on white hair. In this case, you actually want to use the natural level finder created inside the swatch book to help you formulate and find your target goal. You actually want to take the swatch out of the book and show it up to the client's head, finding their natural level. If they're a more neutral tone, you want to use the more neutral slide. If they're a warmer tone, you want to use a warmer slide. When you're lifting your hair from the darker level to the lighter level, it's better to think of them as a darker level so that way you can ensure that you choose the correct developer. If they're in between a 6 and a 7, you want to go ahead and think of them as a 6. Because if you think of it as a 7, then you're not going to lift the hair properly, so you're not going to get a proper result. When formulating advanced coloration, we mix our ratio 2:1. You'll notice that our color comes in 3.4 ounce tubes. That allows you to actually get about 3 heads of color per tube. You always want to weigh your color. The reason that this is important because it ensures proper formulation every time. You will never, ever have a different result if you write your color down and you mix it the same way you did the second time. Working in a salon and growing up in a salon with my dad, I've always watched stylists just throw away color, constantly throwing away color. And I finally realized that when you weigh your color, you can scale it down to grams. So therefore, you don't have to mix as much just because you need that half an ounce or that whole ounce. Knowing how many grams you need in a root touch-up is perfect for not ever mixing too much color. The average root touch-up is anywhere from 55 to 65 grams of color, so knowing that, you should never mix up too much color. So if you notice on the color tubes, they still have the lines for the ounces, but I still recommend weighing your color every time. It'll definitely give you a much more consistent result. So let's talk about gray coverage. We all know how difficult gray coverage can be. Well, advanced coloration has made that really simple. All of our colors cover gray. We don't have to use the ends, we don't have to use the double ends. You can literally have any option in the book. And the reason that is because we have a brown background in every color. Even our reds, you will not get hot roots. When you're dealing with resistant gray hair, we have a color called the Joker. You'll see it in the very back page of the book next to your ice and your toner. Joker is actually ammonia in a tube. Anytime the client has over 25% gray hair, you want to add up to 1/5 of our formula with the booster. So that means if we would like 20 grams of color, 15 grams of that is going to be color, 5 grams of that is going to be booster. We're going to double our developers to equal 40 grams, and that's going to give us 60 grams total. Remember, if the hair is white, think of that as a white background. It's probably a good idea to go ahead and drop the client down a level. So if the target level is a 5, go ahead and choose a 4. And the reason that is just to ensure that you don't get hollow roots. I want to talk to you about our reds. One way to get really vibrant reds, as you can see in this picture, is we increased our developer volume to 30. Our reds actually cover gray hair without giving you hot roots. So in other color lines, when you're formulating gray coverage, usually you have to mix another color with your reds to ensure that you get proper coverage. That is not the case in our line. With our line, you pick the target level. If they have really white hair, maybe drop it down a level, then add the booster, and then formulate accordingly. The last thing you want to do is to add another color to the red to help mud out your color. I definitely recommend not using ends or double ends. I always recommend adding the G's if you'd like to add anything to your reds at all. The G series still has a gold, so it's still going to help you cover the gray. Not necessarily mudding your coppers or muddying your reds, still giving them a nice deep rich tone at the same time with giving you the depth with the roots. Our color line does not use heat. If you're highlighting somebody's hair and you need to use heat, we always recommend that you process for 20 minutes before ever adding heat. Let's talk about choosing our developer. So Advanced Coloration has 6 developers: 3.5, 7, 10, 20, 30, 40. The 3.5 is just our Italian gloss, which really can be mixed with any of our colors to give the hair some added shine. It's a great add-on service. It's a great middle service to do as a refresher in between their services. Then we have our 7 volume developer, which is also known as our revealer, which is great for lowlights because you're not necessarily trying to lift the hair, just deposit only. Then we have our 10, 20, 30, 40. Now as a stylist, you're used to hearing that 20 volume is necessary for gray coverage, but not with Advanced Coloration. Advanced Coloration, if you have gray coverage, you only need to use 10 volume. The difference is that we add up to 1/5 of our formula with our ammonia booster, which is also known as the Joker in the back. Some people say that hydrogen peroxide is hydrogen peroxide, but that is not the case. Our developers are also formulated with stabilization and a scalp protectant. The scalp protectant helps ensure that that client that has a sensitive scalp isn't going to itch or burn. Stabilization, that ensures that if, say, you leave the top off your developer, when you come back in an hour, that 10 volume is still a 10 volume. I want to talk to you about some of our special editions. In the back of our book, we have 2 pages. There are our blenders, our lighteners, and then we have our additives and our toners. As you can see, we have our additives in the back are also our correctors. These are not to be used as vivids. They actually have no ammonia in the color whatsoever. So really, you're only supposed to mix those with your color. So for instance, if you'd like to brighten up a red, maybe add a little yellow or add a little orange to your formula. But remember, be super judicious because they're super powerful, meaning they have lots of pigment. You can see at the bottom of the page, we have our super lighteners. Those are a high intensity, high lift color. They have a little bit more ammonia in the tube, but they're basically just a high lift color. We have our 11 and our 12, but you can also mix the violet toner and the ice toner into those to get a little bit more tonal control. We have our Joker, what we've talked about is also our booster for ammonia. We have our toner and our ice. The toner is our violet pink based for getting that really nice white blonde with yellow hair. And then we also have our ice toner to help cut any brass that you might see. Those would be mixed with triple 40 on any levels 7 and higher. Another specialty product that we have is our blenders. They can be used on man or woman and they'll be mixed with 7 volume. These are your gray blenders. Pretty simple, dark gray, light gray. So for people with dark gray hair, you would use the dark blender. For people with light gray hair, you would use the light blender. No longer than 10 minutes at the bowl. Please watch it and only use 7 volume. Then we have our bleaches. Advanced Coloration has 2 bleaches, also known as lighteners. We have a blue and a white bleach. Now they're both the same strength, but the reason our blue bleach is blue is to give you more warmth control and more tonal control. And the reason our white bleach is white absolutely has no tonal control and helps reveal more of that underlining pigment. What is awesome about our bleaches is they're not as aggressive as other color lines, so you really don't have to worry about which bleach you put on what hair. I use blue bleach on blondes all the time.